Hello. Welcome to another UCF podcast. Actually, a pretty good fight night edition. We had our main event, Lemos versus Jandiroba. Let's get into it. Tell us all about it, Clark.
Yeah, so thanks, Francis. This was a really solid main event. I think a lot of people were shit talking this whole card, and I think it's kind of because last week was kind of lame, and there's a lot of unknowns on this one. But this was a good main event. You had a situation here where Lemos and Jandiroba are really going at it. They're looking pretty good in round one. Obviously, this is a really heavily Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fight. No getting around it. No shocking reveal there, but it is really solid grappling that's going on this whole fight. In round two, Lemos is trying to stay standing up and is struggling to do so because Jandiroba just will not let you stay on your fucking feet if she can help it. She wants you on the ground. She wants you struggling. She wants to be basically just constantly working for that sub attempt. And when you get control, she's doing everything in her power to reverse. And she's like a fucking surgeon on the ground. It's so impressive. If you make any just slight mistake, a little slip up, she zooms in on that. She's like calculating. She's almost sinister in how good she was at picking up all the mistakes that Lemos was making on the ground. And honestly, she wasn't making anything that egregious, right? She wasn't screwing up constantly, but anytime there was just a little bit of wiggle room, she gets in there. And right before the end of round two, Jandiroba goes in there. She's doing a rear naked choke. Lemos gets out of it, and then I don't even know. Something must have just clicked in her head, and she brings her leg up around, and it's just like, oh, I could just do an armbar here, and just instantly armbars, not even hoping hell of making it to the end of the round, and Lemos has to tap. Honestly, just it was great. Jandiroba's looking really good. She's gonna get that title shot, and Francis, I think she deserves it.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue with it at this point. She ran through Amanda Lemos, and I do want to give some credit where it's due. Lemos was reversing positions on the ground. She got on top a couple of times there in round one, but she is not a grappler. And the first takedown that Verna Jandiroba timed on Amanda, she tried to jump a guillotine. She didn't fight the takedown. And there has to be like a PSA for UFC fighters. They have to like just have it playing in the Performance Institute where they're all training, Please stop jumping guillotines. They do not work
Do
almost
not
ever.
jump guillotine.
And do not jump guillotine. If you're at a kickboxing gym and they're telling you you just need this one goofy trick to stop wrestlers, they're lying to you. It doesn't work, okay? Many people, I can think of at least one other guy jumping guillotines that were not working on this fight card. But Verna Jandiroba, dude, like her walkout song, walking out to Queen, dancing the whole way, just looking happy as fuck. She's talking about this is like this main event being her first main event was like the natural reward for how hard she has worked to get to the top of this UFC strawweight division. It was just impressive, man. And yeah, like chaining together submission attempts is such an effective skill to have. It's so impressive. It's like when you see a guy finally realize that when his first takedown attempt fails, he could switch how it's like a guy who goes for a single leg, realizes he's not going to get it, and actually turns the corner. So the guy's losing his balance. It's just taking those extra steps to complete what you're trying to do. And man, Verna just looks good.
Yeah.
Solid win. She got a performance of the night bonus for it, and well deserved in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Running down to the stats a little bit, as you can see, we just don't have that many strikes getting thrown or landed. Round two, Amanda Lemos tried to get some stuff going on the feet, through a counter uppercut that seemed to sting Verna for a second, but that's the most that she got going the whole fight. And our co-main event, what the hell? Where's Brad Tavares?
What went on there?
Yeah, that fight got canceled due to, I believe, an injury the day of the fights. So our co-main event was actually Steve Garcia versus Sungwoo Choi. Didn't last very long, but it was co-main event worthy. We called this one pretty much fucking exactly. Steve Garcia, round one KO. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't technical, but boy, did it ever work. He's aggressive. He is swinging, looping punches. And frankly, even if he's kind of just spazzing out there, he's accurate with a good chunk of these shots, only had time to throw like 27 significant strikes, landed with 55% of them. Not a huge surprise that it's mostly leg kicks and headshots for this one. It was over pretty much as soon as it started. I not too much more to say about that one, but an awesome KO for Steve Garcia, and he now has the longest active knockout streak in the UFC, and he's got it down at featherweight, man. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, wow. I didn't realize that. That is pretty impressive. I mean, again, not a lot to say about it, not super technical or anything, but it is an exciting fight. You like to see that in the co-main event, the suddenly co-main event. I mean, you'd love to see him. You'd love to see those knockouts.
Absolutely. And if I'm gonna hit back on this webpage. I don't know if you guys are noticing this, but we have a lot of finishes on this card. This is kind of the best fight night card potentially of the year thus far. Was pretty good. Before that, we had Kurt Hollabaugh versus Kaynan Krajowski. I, you know, they got to the decision and it was unanimous for Kurt Hollabaugh, and that was exactly right. It was a game of inches, and Kaynan Krajowski lost that game of inches. Kurt Hollabaugh did not look like a world beater, but he could just take a punch a little bit better, and his punches landed a little bit harder. These guys are both hitting at a pretty similar accuracy. They're both hitting their targets pretty similarly. The biggest difference being that Kaynan was getting a lot more of his shots in the clinch, and you saw that up against the cage that he was working with elbows and uppercuts and a little bit of dirty boxing. But at range, Kurt Hollabaugh could just wade in, and honestly, even if Kaynan was catching him with like a little check hook or something on the way in, just didn't seem to affect him. Kurt was the one who was able to deal damage in this fight, and it got him the win.
Yeah. There's that question that you have to kind of ask, and the judges are smoking crack, so maybe it doesn't matter that much. But when you're getting a lot of significant strikes in the clinch, it just seems to some extent you might be doing just less damage, right? I mean, I think that they made the right decision. The judges were right in this regard, but Kurt is getting a lot more strikes at distance, and then Kaynan is getting a lot more in the clinch. And I wonder if that's not causing issues, because it can be just a little harder to get good damage in the clinch. If you're not good at it, if you're just struggling, like you don't have the ability to throw all your weight into a punch. And so I feel like in these kind of situations where the fight is kind of like a narrow, it's not like a real blowout in either direction, we really have to consider trying to do more stuff at distance if you can. The clinch becomes dangerous if it's going to be like a potential like close-ish fight, If you're not getting that damage in the clinch and the other guy's tagging you at distance, that might be enough for the judges to give him the round, So I don't know. Something to think about.
The other thing to consider when in these sort of clinch fighting positions, if that's where you're having the success, you got to make sure you hurt the guy very visibly and noticeably, because even if this dirty boxing in the clinch, even if these shots are doing damage, it's harder for the referees to see it up against the cage instead of being in the center of the octagon. Way back in the day, when I did some, limited martial arts competition, one of the things we were always reminded by our coaches is be aware of where the judges are. Because if you're landing the best shot in this fight and nobody sees it, doesn't count. Sorry. Yeah. So that is important, because also the judges don't necessarily get to see the replays 100 times over the same way we do. They're not supposed to, right? Because that would influence a judge's perspective. So it is a good point that, yeah, like honestly, in the clinch, you're probably not getting scored as well as if you were at distance. But out at distance, Kaynan was getting fucking cracked, so I really can't fault him for going.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's the thing. It makes sense to go in the clinch in that situation, but I mean, you're not doing the damage, man. You're gonna lose the fight. You don't want to lose the fight, do you?
Well, Kaynan wanted to. Just kidding. But nice win for Kurt Hollabaugh. Going down the card, I like this one too. Bruno Silva versus Cody Durden. I was worried immediately when this fight started, because obviously we had picked Bruno Silva to win this.
Yeah.
And I had said, I'm figuring he's probably going to get a submission. Cody Durden lost his last fight by submission. Bruno Silva got his last win by submission. I thought it was going to end up being a bit of a grappling match. But from the get-go, Cody Durden wanted to knock out Bruno Silva, and he was throwing punches like he really meant it. And his accuracy is just slightly below 50%. But he landed a few punches that really seemed to ring Bruno's bell. I'm pretty sure he was hurt at least once in this fight for as long as it lasted. And I say as long as it lasted because Bruno Silva eventually, really earned that fight name Bulldog, caught Cody Durden, beat the shit out of him, finished him quickly. Beautiful TKO victory. And yeah, if you look at these numbers round by round, you can probably tell which round he ran away with it there. Only 4 of 6 shots landed in round 2 for Cody Durden. Didn't take long in round 2 for him to get it finished.
Yeah. I was a little nervous as well. He wasn't looking, it's like he needed to warm up a little bit or something. Silva was kind of struggling round 1. Wasn't horrible or anything, but I definitely was like, oh, fuck, like here comes we're going to be coping on the podcast one. But really glad he managed to turn that around. Good finish. He's the short king, right? I mean, yeah, this is the little guy.
Absolutely.
This is our short king, man. You don't discount them. I mean, usually you should, but Bruno Silva, he's repping them. He's repping the short kings.
I keep saying it. Down at 125 pounds kind of makes sense to be a short dude because you can pack on so much more muscle.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always help you out, obviously. But you know, it's working for Bruno Silva. Moving down the card. This one we got wrong, and now, frankly, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy about
on the
this.
prediction video, I was like, maybe he'll make us look stupid or whatever. And you know what? Korean Zombie, we look fucking stupid right now.
The Korean Superboy. The Korean Zombie, I think, was in his corner, actually.
Yeah, well, whatever, dude. The same thing. Cut that part.
No, we're leaving it in. Do Ho Choi. Do gonna steal your Ho Choi. He's back. He's got his first win in 8 years, and it's a TKO against Bill Algeo. Man, round 1 freaked me out because, like I was saying earlier, wow, look at those round 1 striking stats. We had a lot of grappling in round number 1, and you know what Do Ho Choi was doing? He was jumping guillotine for some fucking reason. Just the stupidest thing. And you know what? Didn't matter because in round number 2, he realized, oh my God, I can hit so much harder than Bill Algeo can. And what was more is that Bill actually didn't have a punch to keep Do Ho Choi off of him. Nothing he was throwing, even though it was landing, was doing anything. And Choi just had this moment of realization, oh, I can fucking get him. And he did. He hit him with his just brutal left hook that finished the fight. When I saw it, I'm pretty sure that Bill Algeo's orbital was broken.
I think, yeah, that's what it must be. Because, yeah, there's like that half second of like realization, and then he like just crumbles and basically like just defends himself and waits for the ref to finish it. Because you can tell his eye was already bleeding, but then after that fucking shot, it like just instantly got so much worse. His orbital must be broken or fractured or something. Because like, holy shit, that was a beautiful shot, beautiful finisher. One of those ones where it's not a KO, but you just got to be like, God damn, that is a fucking mint clean finish.
Some bone crushing power coming from the Korean Superboy. And he was getting emotional afterwards, and rightly so. Can you imagine, like, actually authentically for 8 years of your life, you go from being a genuine prospect in the UFC that people are talking about everywhere. Do steal your Ho Choi is a meme from 8 years ago at this point, right? And then you hit the 8 years of I can't get a win. His last fight, he was winning until I think there was a point deduction or something, and it was a draw or a no contest. I forget exactly what went down there, but still 8 years of your professional life, not like you're a salesman and you don't get a sale for 8 years, and you keep fucking grinding away until finally you get just a beautiful performance. And another thing to note is that the Korean Superboy should now be the Korean Superman because the dude's fucking jacked. Okay. And that's a good thing. All right. I hope he keeps fighting. I hope he keeps doing well, man. I hope they just, if they have dudes who are on their way out of the UFC, they're on their last fight of their contract and they're on a 2-fight losing streak, man, feed him to Do Ho Choi.
Yeah, come on.
Get more wins.
Give this guy some wins. Give him a go. Let him be in there for a bit. It really doesn't feel like he's had that opportunity, unfortunately, to really be a fighter. I mean, he's taken so many huge breaks, and that draw last year, man, give this boy something. You know what I mean? Give this guy some shitty fighters. Let him just eat him up. Get a few maybe performance of the night bonuses or something.
Oh my God, find Cub Swanson. Have them do the rematch. You could fucking do it. Cub just lost his last fight.
Yeah, you could actually. That could fucking be it right there. I mean, people would tune the fuck into that.
Hunter!
Dana, Dana, you need to give us a call now. Okay, Dana, I'm leaving voicemails. You need to call me back.
Please.
Before
that, oh boy. We had, oh man, and such another killer fight. And another killer fight that we called completely.
Yep.
And Jung Lung Lee, the Korean Tiger, in the pre-fight, I was saying, just like lined up on the UFC webpage, Hyder Mill looks like he's fucking huge compared to Jung Lung Lee. But Obviously, Lee was quite a bit taller and broader than Emil. And as soon as they started to exchange on the feet, man, wow, again, I was worried because I saw Lee turn Hyder's head almost all the way around with a punch. And that just seemed to set him off. The Hurricane showed up, delivered what was probably a 30 punch combination that included a couple punches back coming from Lee that just didn't slow him down. And by probably punch number 10, Lee was in trouble. By punch number 20, Lee didn't know where he was. And by punch number 30, the referee had finally decided it was, his time to get involved. Just a barn burner, a slobber knocker, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Yeah, just looking at the per round strikes here. 4 of 10 for Lee, 42 of 63 for Emil. He's just made a huge statement at featherweight. I can't wait to see what he does going forward. It could be that Hyder just isn't that good, but man, I'm going to watch his next fight. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, a guy that's willing to just do that whole ass brawl thing. And I guess the issue with going in and just deciding that you're going to do the brawl is that you're very clearly either about to win or lose the fight. And Lee, for some reason, and I'm guessing you're right, in 10 punches in, he was probably at least a little cooked. But the fact that he doesn't disengage from this, he just like kind of stays in on it, doesn't try to get away from it or like back off or really even put his hands up and block very much. He kind of just eats it. That's so dangerous to be in that situation, because that could have easily been Emil, with circumstances were just slightly different. So while I was pretty happy watching this, and I mean, fuck, everyone was just going crazy, right? I mean, like commentators were shitting their pants, screaming like they just watched someone get murdered. But it was really exciting. Yeah, pretty much, right? Really exciting. But man, that shit worries me when I see guys going in and doing that stuff, because that could have so easily been Emil eating shit instead. But it wasn't. We win. We're the best pickers of all time. Good job, Emil.
Yeah, and we also said that would probably end by KO for Emil.
Yeah,
so
we're so right. Are we the most right people ever?
Oh, obviously.
I think so.
Going down, Cody Gibson versus Brian Kelleher. Wow, this is another one we predicted exactly correctly. Kelleher was just a little bit too old and a little bit too slow. Cody Gibson just was hitting him when he couldn't get hit, was very, very aggressive, very vicious. I mean, this is another, like, we had a lot of knockouts. I don't know if you guys are noticing this.
Yeah.
Round 1, Kelleher hits 2 of 12, 16% accuracy. Cody Gibson, for what it's worth, only hits 13 of 24. But it's over fast.
Yeah, that's submission.
Yeah, taps him out pretty quickly, but also on the feet. I believe he threw like this vicious elbow that cracked Brian as well. It was a 4-minute beating of Brian Boom Kelleher, and that's tough, but it's a nice win for the Renegade. Neither one of these guys is cracking the top 10 anytime soon, but not a bad win for Cody Gibson.
Good job, Cody.
Yeah. Moving down.
Oh, women. Thank God we got women again.
Oh, my Lord. Thank you. Miranda Maverick versus Jan Barboza was not that exciting of a fight, if I'm going to be honest with you. Miranda Maverick also...
This guy hates women.
Like, just... You know what I really got to say? Is the number of punches that Miranda Maverick can throw at an invisible opponent is impressive. She's hitting a 34% accuracy on her significant strikes. And the amount of times that I watched that girl punch the air in front of Dion Barboza's like chin and chest was impressive, that she could, keep up a cardio routine while also fighting. I look at these accuracy numbers and it's really pathetic, because Dion Barboza is not, she's not Rose Namajunas. Her defense isn't that fucking good. You should be hitting her, Miranda.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the takedowns, I'm actually almost certain that the witch would have eventually cracked Maverick.
Probably.
Now, she did, though. Yeah. She took her down like a motherfucker. She grappled like a goddamn, but 8 minutes of control time out of 15 minutes. Like, I'm sorry, Barboza, you should have trained takedown defense.
Yeah, like that's what we kind of figured Maverick's game plan was going to be. But I was kind of shocked with some of that striking. I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of weird when you see that you got someone who is clearly not like terrible at it. They've practiced striking, and yet just inexplicably they're just missing shit that no one. Like it's either that you shouldn't have missed it at all, or it's a punch you shouldn't have even thrown in the first place. Why are you doing that? It would
better served you as a feint,
right?
Why are you?
It's strange. You're wasting energy, and obviously, if you're facing a fighter that's maybe a little more savvy, they're going to punish the fuck out of you missing punches like that, right? Like if you lean in a little bit or something, right, and they can clock you as you're just hitting the air, you're going to be in trouble. Thankfully for Maverick, Barbosa wasn't really able to do anything like that. But I don't know, man. It was weird. I honestly expected a little more out of Maverick. I'm glad she won. It wasn't a bad win necessarily, but yeah, I don't know.
This is I'm gonna go a little bit rogue on this one. Maybe we'll cut
You're
this part.
fucked. What the fuck, dude?
But there's a serious difference between a win like this in women's flyweight and, let's say, a win in the top 5 of women's strawweight. And after having watched Rose Namajunas, just kind of school Tracy Cortez, I just need people to remember that performance that Tracy Cortez had, where she has every physical attribute and she should be winning the fight, and she's just not a serious fighter in some very, very authentic way, because the sort of shit that Miranda Maverick was doing in this fight would have got her hurt. I'm not going to say knocked out, but hurt by Rose Namajunas. And Miranda Maverick is supposed to be one of the better girls in this division. This is the difference of talent between women's 115 and women's 125.
Yeah.
And I actually can't wait to see Rose just kind of casually beat the shit out of all of these girls now.
It seems like that's what's going to happen, right?
Rose, but
I don't know what else could even happen. The women in flyweight are just not very good, unfortunately. It doesn't seem like any of them are really pulling anything off that's that impressive. These are the type of wins that you see in flyweight for women, and it sucks.
Yeah. And I mean, contrast that with the main event. Like, imagine Verna Jandiroba getting her hands on Miranda Maverick. Like, I don't think the 10 pounds extra fucking makes it.
Ain't gonna help, right? I mean, hell, Maverick is a grappler. I think she get fucking eaten right up.
Yep, absolutely. But we'll quit shitting on Miranda Maverick.
Cut
she got a win, unanimous decision, whatever.
Yeah, we love women
we
here.
Got that pick correct, so can't be too mad.
Yeah. Right. Speaking of getting mad.
Yeah.
Look, man.
Get mad about this one.
You ever been robbed? You ever been like robbed by someone?
Yeah.
Is it because they don't like Central Asia? They're scared of the dominance. Look, man, I don't know. I understand round 1 is pretty clearly going to go to Ogden, right? Like that's, it's not doesn't take a genius to figure that out. I probably would have given rounds 2 and 3 to Radzhabov, okay? And I understand that, there's definitely a debate to be had there. There's still a lot of grappling going on with Ogden. He's got sub attempts, he's got takedowns, but he's just, I don't know. I think that Radzhabov was doing a little more damage with the strikes, and he won, and you suck, and the judges suck, and this whole organization sucks, and Dana, you need to call me back today.
Number 1, he's not going to, because he's calling me back first.
No.
Number 2, my counter argument real quick, because leaving round number 3, I really wasn't sure who the judges were going to give it to, but I would have given round number 2 to Trey Ogden, just purely based off of like a submission attempt and controlling a good chunk of that round. Round number 3 very clearly went to Radzhabov, and Trey Ogden just survived round number 3. So it really just comes down to whether or not you score round number 2 for Loic or for Trey.
Yeah.
And their landed strikes are quite literally exactly the same. Loic missed more than Ogden, and then Ogden also was able to take him down and throw up at least one submission attempt.
Yeah, there's no damage though. Where's the damage?
Well, that's not actually true, because once you start to get into submission attempts and your opponent is having to fight you off, like if you're just sitting in the backpack position, doing nothing for 5 minutes, that's not damage. But if you're on the guy's back, fighting him the whole time, punching your arm in for like a submission and just trying, like it's going to count for something. Now, the one I do want to point out is the one judge, Eric Colin, gave all 3 rounds to Trey Ogden, and I actually want to know the sort of shit that he's smoking so I can.
I made sure not to check those cards because I knew there's gonna be some shit like that. Literally, honest to God, like what kind of crack do you have to be smoking to give all round 3?
Round 3.
What's going on here, buddy? Oh, but there was one takedown, right? Well, like, I mean, that's where I'd give him the round. He had a takedown.
Yeah. No.
Crack.
But like again, the submission attempts, right? We're getting 2 submission attempts. We're getting 9 minutes 40 of this fight is Trey Ogden controlling where Loic Radzhabov is. I'm not like upset with this decision. I actually would have preferred Also, I do just have to check myself because I picked Trey Ogden, basically mixing these two up. Like I mixed up their two names after I did the research, cleverly cutting out the part where I'm calling Trey Ogden the striker in this matchup, and Clark is correcting me. So I actually by accident picked the right guy on this one. Boyk should have been able to knock out Trey Ogden. He should have been able to deal with him. And I continuously watched him walk into like just a limp wristed check hook from Trey Ogden over and over every time Loic entered, and he caught him almost every time that he threw this check left hook. If Loic goes up against like someone with punching power and he does the same thing, dude, he's gonna get chin checked and knocked out.
Yeah, I was not impressed by Loic as much as I wanted to be, but he does have, like, I don't know, he's got room to grow still, right? He ain't like cooked yet.
But absolutely.
Yeah, I hope that he can get a little better. I don't know. It was a sad fight. I was crying. It was a hard night for us in Central Asia where we record this podcast. So,
yeah. But yeah, no. Trey Ogden, dude. The Samurai is his fight name. One of the most boring dudes to watch, even when he's winning. I hope he gets knocked out soon, but I still got that pick. So,
luck pick, the complete luck pick. Fuck you, man.
And now going to where my luck failed me, we had Luana Carolina versus Lucy Padalova. I must have been smoking the same thing as that referee to pick Lucy Padalova. Wow, she got her ass whooped.
Yeah.
Unanimous decision, was outworked in every position. At range, she was outstruck. On the ground, she was outgrappled. Pretty much just a one-sided fight. I don't have much more to say about this one.
I was kind of surprised when you picked Padalova. I was like, man, really? But then I didn't want to talk you out of like fucking yourself over, so I didn't really say too much. But yeah, in my opinion, Carolina, she ain't the best in the division, but she was just looking a lot better in general. And then she was a lot better in general. And really, what else can you say?
Yeah, not too much more on that one. And you know what? This one
stupid,
hurts.
Man. This is so fucking
reasons.
dumb.
This one hurts for a couple of reasons. Because, first of all, why does Kamaru Usman not even look that much smaller than his heavyweight brother? Like just standing next to each other in the cage, like in between rounds, because he was in the corner of his brother.
Yeah.
Why does Kamaru have a bigger head than his heavyweight brother?
Wow,
questions that I don't have answers to. Yeah, actually, you're absolutely fucking correct, because Muhammad Usman kind of forgot how to fight during this one. And something that I said in the pre-fight predictions video is that if you can't beat Thomas Peterson, why are you in the UFC?
Yeah,
and
honestly.
We just got the answer to that question, that Muhammad Usman should not be in the UFC. He looks like he should have some crazy punching power. And, he almost seems shocked when his punches land and his opponent doesn't immediately get knocked out. I don't know what's going through the head of Muhammad Usman, but during this fight, he looked genuinely scared of just the doughiest, like slowest heavyweight. And Thomas Peter, and another thing, it should be fucking mentioned, is that Kamaru Usman was the premier wrestler at welterweight when he was champion. His brother, you would assume, is also a good wrestler. Why is it that when you're staring at this dude over 3 rounds and not throwing punches, you can't even think to try to take down the big fat dude you're fighting? Instead, Muhammad Usman got hit with the harder punches, landed almost nothing, got pushed up against the fence, and bullied around by Thomas Peterson for 3 rounds. And oh, wow, look at that, 34% accuracy on his significant strikes. How are you missing Thomas Peterson? This was just like a sad fight.
Honestly, dude, like living in the shadow of his brother.
Thomas Peterson for winning this fight, because he didn't even look that good doing it.
No.
All 3 judges gave all 3 rounds to Thomas Peterson. I hope they cut Muhammad Usman. I hope we hear about him.
We're gonna have one more fight for sure, because it's like people will watch it because it's Usman, right? I bet you he gets one more, and he probably just the same fucking thing, gets unanimous decisioned, and then maybe we'll never hear from him again. But I'll see him on a fight night like 8 to 10 months from now.
Oh God. And that has been top to bottom UFC Fight Night, Lemos versus Jandiroba. I'll make sure to put up the scoreboard of our picks, because actually we did pretty good this weekend.
Yeah.
And like, let's be honest, guys, this was one of the better fight nights of like this year. And even though the one fight I was like most interested in got canceled, still delivered. So pretty happy about that. Next weekend we actually have a UFC pay-per-view coming up where they've planned to put good fights on that card.
They still do that?
Yeah, they still do. They do put on good fights every once in a while. We're going to good old England. So we'll see you then, and never forget,
Love women. We'll catch you there, folks.
Peace.
Goodbye.